CTV News at 5 with Hudson Mack.
Good evening. Evil came to visit small-town America today, visiting yet again. Another school shooting, a man with a gun, victims in a place they thought was safe. But in Connecticut today, it was different. The killing ground was a kindergarten classroom. 26 people killed, 20 young children, 5 to 10 years old. And before he went to the school, the 20-year-old gunman killed his mother at home. It turns out she was the kindergarten teacher. CTV's John Venevalley-Rao on an unspeakable day of crime.
America has seen many mass shootings before, but this one was different. Happening at a school packed with kids, little kids, some as young as 5 years old, settling in for a day of classes at around 9:30 this morning.
I was in the gym and I heard like 7 loud booms, and the gym teachers told us to go in the corner. So we all huddled.
An almost unimaginable scenario as a gunman opened fire inside an elementary school. One mother says she heard what sounded like 100 rounds go off, sending children and teachers scrambling for cover.
When we were gone doing morning meeting, we heard like shots and everybody went on the ground, and Miss Martin just closed the door and we went to the corner.
By the time the shooting stopped, the gunman was dead. He's been identified as 20-year-old Adam Lanza.
There were several fatalities at the scene, both students and staff.
As soon as it was deemed safe, surviving students were rushed to a nearby firehouse, used as a staging area for children and frantic parents who raced to the site as fast as they could.
It was really kind of mayhem in the room with all of the kids and the teachers, trying to find your kid, identify where yours is, making sure that they're safe, and then trying to find out what the situation was and make sure everybody else was safe.
I just heard the principal was shot and killed. I heard some kids were shot.
By the time the shooting stopped, the gunman was dead, reportedly identified as a man in his 20s. It's not clear if he killed himself or was shot by someone else.
I know there's not a parent in America who doesn't feel the same overwhelming grief that I do. The majority of those who died today were children. Beautiful little kids between the ages of 5 and 10 years old.
Meanwhile, in this normally quiet town in Connecticut, many are trying to understand how this could happen as the scope of the tragedy only begins to sink in. John Venevalley-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
Within hours of the shootings, U.S. President Barack Obama addressed the nation and the world, and he did so with tears in his eyes. He says politics must be set aside to take meaningful action to prevent more tragedies like this.
We've endured too many of these tragedies in the past few years. And each time I learn the news, I react not as a president, but as anybody else would, as a parent. And that was especially true today. I know there's not a parent in America who doesn't feel the same overwhelming grief that I do. The majority of those who died today were children. Beautiful little kids between the ages of 5 and 10 years old. They had their entire lives ahead of them. Birthdays, graduations, weddings, kids of their own. Among the fallen were also teachers, men and women who devoted their lives to helping our children fulfill their dreams. So our hearts are broken today.
On Vancouver Island tonight, police are asking for your help as they try to find a woman who has not been seen since December 6th. Her name is Layla Zakas. She's 22 years old, and she left her home in Oak Bay to go to downtown Victoria on Thursday, December 6th. She was with a friend, but she hasn't been seen since. She was reported missing by her landlord. Zakas is 5'6" with green eyes, brown hair, and olive skin. She was last seen wearing a black dress with leggings and a black jacket and furry boots, carrying a green bag. She is known to frequent downtown Victoria clubs. If you know anything about the whereabouts of Layla Zakas, you're asked to contact Oak Bay Police. After several months of investigation, police have busted a large marijuana grow-op in Saanich and have seized as many as 700 plants. At about 9:30 this morning, patrol officers and the street crime unit entered a house on Genevieve Avenue. The house was being rented, but there was nobody living there. Police say the house is in bad shape and the grow-op has done significant damage.
This home will need significant remediation. That the basement is moldy, damp, and it's just a wet, toxic environment. So likely it'll need many thousands of dollars of remediation.
At this point, it is not clear to police whether the owner of the home knew it was being used as a grow operation. If the owner was aware or involved, the government could seize the house under the Civil Forfeiture Act. Police have not made any arrests in the grow-op bust. BC Transit is investigating tonight after one of its drivers was caught without a valid license. Police pulled over the driver late last night, off shift and behind the wheel of his own vehicle. When they asked for his license, they discovered that it had expired in October. And after learning he was a bus driver, Transit was informed by police. BC Transit is not saying why the man was pulled over, but says he has been suspended.
It's magnified what an individual without a driver's license would face. There are upwards of 100 people on any one of our double-decker buses if the driver was driving that. Other people on the road. There are the ripple effects of not having a driver's license when you're a commercial driver, and certainly a driver responsible for public safety. It's a huge magnitude.
BC Transit employs 765 drivers. On April 1st of each year, Transit checks all of their drivers' abstracts, but it does not track when their licenses need to be renewed. Bus drivers are required to have a valid license and must report any demerits or issues immediately. Transit says it'll review its policies and determine whether they need to be changed. A search and rescue helicopter from 442 Squadron at CFB Comox fought through 50-kilometer-an-hour winds last night to rescue an injured crew member from a bulk carrier. The ship was off Tofino at about 6 o'clock last night when a crew member suffered a serious injury while doing maintenance work. It was dark and low clouds made for poor visibility. The helicopter hovered overhead as 6-meter waves rolled over the freighter. Search and rescue technicians were hoisted onto the deck where they performed first aid and then prepared the man for transport. He is now being treated in a hospital in Victoria. A Souk man had quite a surprise when he woke up this morning to find 3 bears in a tree next to his house. Now, black bears are not an unusual sight in Souk, but a mother protecting her 2 cubs can be extremely dangerous. The homeowner says his dog was barking last night at something outside, but he couldn't see what it was, and at first he ignored it.
Normally when he's barking and I tell him stop, he just stops. But this time he barked at me and then he put his head in the direction where the bears are. And he just continued barking there. So then this morning I wake up to see 3 bears in the tree.
They've been seen quite a few times in the community over the last couple of weeks. They've shown no signs of aggression, but they are starting to get habituated. So the message to people is lock up your garbage, lock up any other attractants that people are leaving around that's getting the bears into them. And that's what's keeping the bears here.
Conservation officers are hoping the sow and her cubs come down from the tree on their own once the homeowners and the dogs clear the area. They say that the bears feed off of garbage to try to fatten up for the winter. So if you see a bear, always report it by calling the Conservation Service. Well, the mustard seed is also rallying support over this Christmas season, raising money at the Spirit of Giving campaign, which continues. Victoria Mayor Dean Fortin was on hand, joining the volunteers to wrap gifts for a donation today. In October, the food bank reported that its donations were down more than 20% and that this year's Christmas hamper program was in serious jeopardy. And with just 10 days to go until Christmas, the Mustard Seed hopes that you and other shoppers will help fill those hampers and get your gifts wrapped up in exchange for a donation of food or cash.
This is an amazing time of year, and it's one of those opportunities to remember that there are people less fortunate than you and I, and now is the time for a gift of giving. And whether it is a donation to the food bank, whether it's making a donation, coming down and wrapping up some Christmas presents, it's all good time to do things that warm your heart.
You'll find the wrapping stations at shopping centres around Greater Victoria, including Hillside, Tillicum, Mayfair, and of course here at the Bay Centre. They'll be there right until Christmas Eve. Comox Valley RCMP are hoping you can help track down a woman who stole a credit card and then racked up the balance. Police say the woman took the card and was able to make several transactions before the theft was discovered. If you recognize this woman in the photo, you're asked to contact Comox Valley RCMP or Crime Stoppers. The BC Centre for Disease Control is warning you not to eat shellfish and seafood products from a Port Hardy distributor because you could come down with shellfish poisoning or botulism, a serious and potentially fatal form of food poisoning. The frozen and jarred clams, frozen barbecue salmon, and canned salmon were being sold online through a buy and sell ad. There's no identification on the packaging. If you have those products, do not eat them. Throw them out. The Centre for Disease Control doesn't believe that the products were sold to any restaurants. The Department of Fisheries is investigating. Two families in Nanaimo got an early Christmas present today. New homes, just in time for the holidays. They got the keys to their new Habitat for Humanity homes, and they'll be neighbors in a duplex on Hecate Street. Each family volunteered sweat equity to do their part, including working at Nanaimo Food Share, Nanaimo Regional General Hospital, the Nanaimo Restore, and at the build site itself. After 500 hours of volunteer work and months of fundraising, the family's dreams have finally come true.
Our first home as a family is a new home, so that's really exciting.
I'm very grateful to have a Habitat home. I'm overjoyed by all the volunteers that have come and supported it. I look forward to the future to put in some more time for them. I'm just on cloud nine. My dreams come true.
Habitat for Humanity raised more than $180,000 toward the new homes, which were the 11th and the 12th it has built.
For these families, this is really, really life-changing, and we are so proud to be part of changing the, affordable housing market by bringing some families into affordable home ownership.
Habitat for Humanity plans to build another duplex early in the new year, and it needs more volunteers to do that. To find out more, visit habitatmvi.org. Well, the Santa bus is preparing to hit the road in Nanaimo. The annual transit tradition is easy to spot, of course, because the bus is sporting antlers and a big, bright red nose. And you'll see Santa behind the wheel while Mrs. Claus and an elf treat riders to candy canes, Christmas music, and holiday stickers.
The one principle that we have for the Santa bus is try to have people bring non-perishable food items on board. So we donate all those food items to the Salvation Army in Nanaimo and the Society of Organized Services in Parksville. So we're trying to make sure that we are giving to people in need and making sure that children and everybody else get to make their Santa wishes as well.
The Santa bus rolls Wednesday, December 19th on the number 4 and number 11 routes between 7 in the morning and 2:30 in the afternoon in Nanaimo. There's a motorhome delivering food to families in need this season. It's the Big Boys Toys Moho food drive that has now wrapped up. The motorhome spent a month on the road collecting donations from all over the island, and today was its final stop as it unloaded all of that food at Hamperville in Nanaimo.
Our community has just stepped up. We've had so many emotional things around the way. Someone donating one can or a quarter, or a little guy carrying a jar of peanut butter saying he's donating it because it's healthy. We've got a really emotional community that's just really connected with the motorhome.
This year's goal was to raise 15,000 pounds of food, and they made it, and then some. Donations tipped the scales at 15,700 pounds.